Welcome back to the channel, comrades. Today I'll be turning my motherland Great Britain into a socialist economic utopia. Let me call my British friend and see what he thinks. Hello there, my British friend, how are you?
I'm doing good, what's up?
Listen, I have a very quick question. I'm going to turn your country into communist utopia. I want to get your opinion on this.
Does it affect my tea?
No, not really. Why?
Just go ahead then.
Wait, no, sorry. I need you to repeat that again, please.
Just do it, man. I'm English. As long as it don't affect the tea, I'm okay. Yeah, I don't care, yeah, but...
Wait, what the fuck? So, what is communism or socialism? Before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's start with the basics. Both communism and socialism are economic and political systems that advocate for a more equitable society. They aim to address social inequalities and create a system that benefits everyone, not just a privileged few. Socialism is a diverse range of ideas, but at its core, it seeks to achieve a fairer distribution of wealth and resources. In the socialist system, the government plays a more significant role in regulating industries and providing essential services like healthcare, education, and social welfare. Now, let us explore communism. Communism is an extreme form of socialism, envisioning a classless, stateless society where the means of production are collectively owned. This means there is no private property and resources are shared among all citizens based on their needs. Now, to understand the origins of communism, we need to look into the ideas of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Their writings, like the Communist Manifesto, shaped the foundation of communist theory, emphasizing the need for a proletariat revolution to overthrow the capitalist system. Throughout history, various countries have attempted to implement socialist or communist principles, from the Soviet Union to China and Cuba. We'll explore their success, challenges, and the lessons we can learn from their experiences. No ideology is without its criticisms. We delve into some common critiques of communism and socialism, ranging from the concerns about individual freedoms and complexities of central planning. In the present day, the term communism and socialism can be misunderstood or misrepresented. We'll clarify some misconceptions and discuss how these ideologies continue to shape the political discourse globally.
So here's our plan for today's video. So not only are we going to start a communist revolution in Great Britain, we're also going to be forming the peak British Empire, taking places such as Egypt, Palestine, Iraq, Burma, Brunei, Singapore, and Papua New Guinea. When we get started, we're going to be focusing on our already established colonies, which are Canada and Australia. We will be using the Confederate Canada and Federate Australia journal entry. In order for us to unite the penal colonies, we need to have research nationalism and have at least amicable relations with the penal colonies. And finally, we have the East India Company. In order for us to proclaim the British Raj, all we need to do is be at peace and invest our level into level 5 colonial affairs. Now that we got our early plan out of the way, let's get started.
Alright, God save the Queen, man.
First thing we're going to do is organize our research. Water boiler, nationalism, canneries, and mechanized workshops. Then maxing out our construction sectors in home counties. Then incorporating Ireland. Then I decided to build some tooling workshops, iron mines, and coal mines as a basic precipice for our economy. Following up with establishing our colonies in Africa. Then slowly one by one improving our relations with our penal colonies in Australia. After that, the Opium Wars event had triggered. Now, we could simply ignore this, or we could go to war with the Qing, and I'm not gonna lie, I was feeling a little bit based. We went to war, boys. Not long after, the coronation of Queen Victoria had happened.
God save the Queen!
Then I decided to do a naval invasion on Beijing, then triggering the philosophy department event so that our universities can get a higher throughput bonus. Now, in order for us to get a head start towards communism, we need to give power to the trade unions. Now, in order for us to give more power to the trade unions, we need to pass laws that will give them more political power, such as migration controls. As you can see here, not only do the trade unions want us to pass this law, but we can also give them more clout in the process, which will allow us to pass laws much easier. Our naval invasion had landed quite quickly, and the Qing not long after had surrendered. Not so long after, we had managed to trigger the Opium Wars victory, and choosing the option that will give us plus 20% morale damage. Not so long after, declaring war on Brunei to grab North Borneo. Then getting Portugal into a customs union. I then tried the Netherlands, and in my test runs they usually joined, but they didn't. Then going on to conquer Brunei. Then it seems like we had reached an ultimatum at trying to pass migration controls, but lucky for us, we had managed to reach the second stage of drafting. Then I managed to follow up by conquering Sulu, by then finishing our conquest of Northern Borneo. And we managed to end up researching nationalism. After improving our relations with Australia, it was now our turn to start doing Canada's. Finally, Northern Borneo was under British control. Then we finally got to use the Federate Australia, uniting the Maori and Aboriginal territories. Then we enacted migration controls finally after 4 years of trying to pass this law. Scouring around, I decided to go for guaranteed liberties as the next law for us to pass. After a series of conflicts in Singapore, JJJreact was the final territory we needed to unite Singapore under the British Crown. An event triggered that would give us the option to back the trade unions, giving them 10% political strength and plus 3 interest group approval. So I decided to go after Oman. Little did I know, our first big war was about to start. Russia had decided to side with Oman, and little did they know this would be the worst decision that they could have ever made. So to add fuel to the fire, I wanted to see which country I would liberate. It would be Ukraine and the United Baltic States. So to end the war quickly, I decided to do a naval invasion on Ingria, Russia's capital state. We had successfully naval invaded, and Oman was very close to surrendering, and just like that, Oman had surrendered, with Russia following suit. Western Australia had managed to annex Kurna for the Federate Australia. We even managed to grab guaranteed liberties, following up with the annexation of Sulu, so then we could fully incorporate northern Borneo into our territory. Then I decided to conquer the Dutch East Indies territory of Sambas to finally end our conquests in Borneo as a whole. After that conflict, I went for the Dominion play on Burma to finally end our conflict in Asia. And finally, Burma had managed to fall under the British Crown. In order to give the trade unions more power, I decided to go for census suffrage just to give the trade unions more clout. Then we were finally able to confederate Canada and acquiring a gold rush in North Borneo and unlocking census suffrage. Then triggering a realist movement which would give us a 25% art building throughput bonus. For the next law I wanted to pass was Presidential Republic due to its high support, but I thought it would be too early to do yet. So I decided to push for public schools as everybody deserved access to the education, and not only that, the trade unions would get more stronger. With freedom, equality, and brotherhood, we were soon pushing ever so closely to becoming the first communist nation in the world. Then unifying more of the penal colonies in Australia and Canada. The thought and the word and the ideal, we were soon becoming a workers' paradise. And with our final unification of the penal colonies in Australia, the Australian Federation had been completed and Australia had finally became a dominion under the British Crown. The next law that we needed to pass was restricted child labour, so then we could move on to compulsory primary schools. Not long after we managed to grab restricted child labour, we now needed to move towards cultural exclusion, as if we were to become communist, we needed everybody to have the same amount of rights no matter their background or religious beliefs. With the final war, I decided to go for a dominion play on Egypt. Due to them being weakened by the Ottoman Empire, it was now finally time to reach the peak of the British Empire. With our war in Egypt, the balance of power would surely be tipped upside down. With the enactment of cultural exclusion, the Egyptians would soon find themselves surrendering to Great Britain. And with that finally being said, I decided to move towards compulsory primary schools, and my plan to move away from the monarchy would soon begin. Adding Giuseppe Garibaldi to our presidential movement. After we enacted compulsory primary schools, it was now time for us to upgrade our education fully, and for the first time we could add the trade unions into our government, and I decided to go for the presidential republic and triggering a monarchy revolt, which would definitely be bad. The revolt was so close to succeeding, and our presidential republic was getting even closer, and the presidential republic had enacted, and with the metropolitan police, and we were now the British Republic. But we weren't just gonna be any republic, we were gonna be a commie republic. And now it was time for us to annex Egypt to grab their lands. Egypt had capitulated, giving us more GDP and more power, incorporating the states of Egypt while also having the highest GDP in the game and an absolutely wonderful standard of living due to our very high population. I'd say this run was going quite well. With communism on the rise, with Labour Party gaining 30% momentum in the election, and with proportional taxation law passing, and randomly enough, Germany had declared war on me on a territory in India, which absolutely made no sense. But this war made me realize that we were starting to fall a little bit behind on military from the rest of Europe by building a lot of barracks in England and Scotland. The war with Germany had begun and going for a naval invasion on Pomerania, trying to end this war quickly because this war was just not necessary. But I mean, hey, we're dealing with Victoria 3 AI here. As it turns out, our military was much better than Germany's, doing a swift invasion on Pomerania. With protected speech law passing, we would now move towards the old age pension, increasing our welfare payments. With that being said, with the last of the monarchists removed from Britain, the war with Germany had ended in a truce. And not just later on, turns out communist Germany was on the rise. I had to help out a commie brother by siding with them in their German civil war. Now this man Isaac Shaw, he would would lead Britain into its communist foundations. He's basically the British Karl Marx. And with the German Civil War not even starting, communist Germany had managed to take the helm, being the first Council Republic of Europe. Then Isaac Shaw would move towards workers' protection, finally seeding communism into the roots of Great Britain. Well, not long after the rise of communist Germany, radical Germany was about to overthrow communist Germany. Not only that, I was borderline revolution. This campaign was starting to look downhill from here. We had managed to pass a workers' protection, and now it was finally time to enact the Council Republic. And we had enacted a Council Republic, becoming full communist comrades! And not long after, we had a beautiful standard of living, and along with almost a 400 million GDP, and Isaac Shaw leading the charge of the Communist British Council. So if you guys made it to the end of today's video, make sure you comment hello there or General Kenobi, just so I know you made it to the end. Anyways, hopefully everyone has a beautiful day, night, whatever time zone, and make sure you guys be yourselves. See ya!